The sky burned orange. Kalia clutched her side as the cold sand pressed into her knees. Her small hands were slick with her own blood, blue and glowing faintly in the dusk. Above her, massive silver ships roared as they broke through the atmosphere. The last of the Serathi evacuation fleet was leaving. They promised they'd save me, she whispered, her voice trembling. They said they would never leave anyone behind. They had. She watched as the shimmering light of their engines grew smaller and smaller, until they became tiny sparks in the endless sky. Around her, the battlefield was silent now. Smoke rose in twisting columns from burning wreckage. Here and there, the broken bodies of soldiers, Serathi and Predator alike, scattered across the sand. Predators had come suddenly without warning, massive beasts with black carapaces and needle-like claws. The Serathi defenders had fought bravely, but in the end, they had been overwhelmed. Kalia pressed herself against the wreck of a transport skimmer. The hard metal was warm from the fires. She could still hear the voice of her mother in her mind, shouting as she was carried onto the last ship. "We'll come back for you. Just stay hidden. Stay quiet." But they hadn't come back. Now she was alone. Her small ears flicked at a sound in the distance. A low, guttural growl echoed across the sand. Her heart pounded in her chest. Shadows moved between the wreckage. Predators. They were hunting the battlefield for survivors. Leah's breath quickened. She curled into a ball, pressing her hands over her mouth to muffle her sobs. If she made a sound, they would hear her, and then, above the sound of the wind, she heard something new. A low, thrumming hum. Growing louder and louder, a ship. Her heart leapt for a moment. The Serathi are coming back for me. She peeked out from behind the wreckage. But the ship that descended from the clouds wasn't sleek and silver like Serathi craft. It was dark and angular, its hull streaked with scars and strange markings. Its engines roared like angry beasts as it came down, scattering the sand in all directions. Leah's blood ran cold. It wasn't her people, it was them, the Carnivores, the ones her elders told stories about, the monsters who ate flesh and drank blood. The humans. Kalia ducked back behind the wreckage, shaking. Her mind raced. Why are they here? Are they scavenging? Are they hunting? The ship's engines powered down. The rear hatch hissed open. Heavy boots slammed into the sand. Kalia peeked again. A squad of humans emerged, clad in black and red armor. Their helmets were featureless except for two glowing red eyes. Each carried strange weapons long. Sharp and humming with energy, her people had always warned her about humans. They're predators. They eat other species. They cannot be trusted. If you ever see one, hide. Kalia pressed herself flatter against the wreckage. She prayed to the stars that they wouldn't find her. But the humans were moving closer. Sergeant. Kane scanned the battlefield. His HUD flickered with data as his boots crunched over the sand. Motion trackers picking up movement, said one of the Marines. Small. Could be a critter. Or a survivor, Kane said. His voice was low and calm. Stay sharp. Predators might still be lurking. They stepped carefully between the wrecks. Kane's eyes caught a flicker of blue near a collapsed transport. Contact. 1 o'clock, he said. His squad raised their rifles. Kane held up a hand. Wait. Something was there, small and trembling. Kalia's breath came in shallow gasps. The glowing red eyes were fixed on her hiding spot now. They see me, her. Mind screamed at her to run, to fight, to do something, but she couldn't move. Her legs were frozen. Kane knelt, setting his rifle aside. He switched on his external speaker. It's okay, he said gently. His voice was deep and strange, but there was no anger in it. We're not here to hurt you. He reached out a gloved hand. Kalia stared at the massive armored figure kneeling in front of her. Its voice was low, rumbling like distant thunder. The glowing eyes didn't blink. The hands stretched toward her slowly, palm open. Come on, it's all right. You're safe now. Kalia didn't understand the words, but somehow she didn't. Feel like prey? Not yet, Kalia small. Shaking hand rises just slightly from her side. She stares at the human's outstretched fingers, unsure if this is salvation or the end. Kalia small. trembling hand hovered in the air. The giant armored figure before her didn't move, his gloved hands still outstretched. The glowing red eyes of his helmet fixed on her, unblinking. "Easy now," he said softly. His voice a low rumble that vibrated in her chest. Kalia didn't understand his words, but the tone was different from the stories she'd been told. Humans were predators, monsters, and yet this one wasn't attacking her, Sergeant Kane. Watched the child carefully. She was small, no more than 9 by human standards, with pale blue skin and luminous silver eyes. A thick stripe of dried blood ran down her side. He'd seen her kind before Serathi. The Serathi were peaceful, gentle, and terrified of his kind. But this one wasn't running. Not anymore. Sergeant Private Ortiz muttered through the "Comes, she's just a kid. What's the call?" Kane didn't answer right away. He extended his hand another inch. "You're safe now. We're not going to hurt you." The girl flinched but didn't pull back. "She's bleeding out," Kane said finally. "Now." Kalia's eyes widened as another human approached, pulling something from a pack. On his hip, it clicked open with a hiss, and a strange smell filled the air metallic. Sharp poison, Kalia thought. "We're going to poison me." Her breathing grew faster. She stumbled back against the wreckage. "Wait. Don't scare her," Kane ordered. He slowly removed his helmet. Kalia froze. The creature's face was strange, not monstrous. His skin was pale, dotted with tiny marks. His eyes were sharp, brown like the bark of the trees on her homeworld. His jaw was covered with dark stubble. He didn't have fangs. He didn't even look angry. Kane gave her the smallest smile he could manage. "It's all right, kid," he said softly. "You're going to be okay, Kalia." His ears twitched. Didn't understand the words, but something in his tone made her chest loosen. Just slightly. The other human crouched and gently held out a small device. She shrank back. Pressing herself against the wreck, Kane held up a hand to his squad. "Stand down," he said. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small ration bar. Slowly, he unwrapped it and broke off a piece. "It's food," he said, holding it out. Kalia sniffed the air cautiously. The scent was unfamiliar, sweet and earthy. Her stomach growled. She hadn't eaten since the attack. Slowly, her hand reached out. Ortiz whispered over the coms. "She's starving. She's terrified," Kane replied, "and she's not wrong to be." Everyone in the galaxy knew what humans were. Apex predators. Leah's fingers brushed the food. She snatched it back and stuffed it in her mouth, chewing fast. Kane kept his hands still. "We're not here to hurt you," he repeated softly. But Kalia wasn't sure. Her people had told her humans were dangerous, that they were only capable of violence. And yet, this one had fed her. This one wasn't killing her. Sergeant Kane touched his coms. "Command, this is Iron Resolve ground. Team, we've found a survivor, a Serathi." Command's voice crackled. "Yes, a child. She's hurt bad. Bringing her aboard." There was a pause. "Understood. But Kane, you know how the Serathi feel about us." "Copy that," Kane said. "We're not leaving her behind." Watched as the human stood. He offered her his hand again. This time, she didn't pull away. She placed her tiny blue fingers in his massive, gloved palm. The human lifted her with surprising gentleness. As he carried her toward the ship, Kalia stared at the strange markings on his armor. Predators, she thought again. But for the first time, the word didn't feel quite right. Inside the human ship, the air was heavy with the scent of metal and oil. Strange lights blinked on the walls. Kalia's eyes darted around as she was set gently onto a bed. A human medic approached. Speaking softly, Kalia shrank back. "It's okay," Kane said, kneeling beside her. "Let us help." Kalia's gaze met his. Those brown eyes didn't look like a predator's. They looked warm, and for the first time since the attack, Kalia felt something she thought she'd lost. Hope. As Kalia drifted into unconsciousness from exhaustion and blood loss, she heard Kane's voice rumble softly. "You're safe now, little one. You're safe with us." But somewhere deep inside, a single question echoed in her mind. Can predators ever truly protect? Kalia woke to the sound of deep, guttural voices. She blinked slowly. The light above her was cold and white, so unlike the warm glow of the sun on her homeworld. The air smelled strange metallic, sharp and heavy. Her body ached all over. She sat up too fast and winced. Her side was wrapped in strange white cloth. She tugged at it weakly, but the material wouldn't budge. Where was she? Her silver eyes darted around the small room. Smooth metal walls, single glowing panel blinking softly. A humming sound beneath her feet, and then she remembered the predators, the humans. Kalia curled into herself, clutching her knees to her chest. They took me, she thought. They took me onto their ship. Her heart pounded as she recalled the stories. Humans were apex predators. They hunted other races. They consumed flesh. They took what they wanted and left nothing behind. Why hadn't they killed her yet? Were they saving her for later? Outside the door, heavy boots thudded against the floor. Kalia's breath caught in her throat. She scrambled off the bed and hid under it, pressing herself into the shadows. The voices grew louder. She didn't understand the words, but they sounded sharp, harsh. Predators' voices. The door hissed open. Sergeant Kane stepped inside. His helmet was off again, revealing his scarred face and tired brown eyes. She's awake, said quietly. Ortiz followed behind him, carrying a tray of food. Think she's hungry? Ortiz asked. Kane nodded. She hasn't eaten properly in days. Under the bed, Kalia's ears twitched. Food, her stomach growled. But the scent that wafted in made her freeze. It was rich, heavy, unmistakable. Meek Kalia's eyes widened. They're going to make me eat it. Or maybe I'm the food. She pressed herself, flatter against the wall. Kane set the tray on the table and crouched low. Little one, he said softly, we brought you something. No response. He tilted his head, noticing the slight shift of shadows under the bed. She's hiding, Ortiz muttered. Kane sighed. Not surprised, he said. We look like nightmares to her. Kalia's heart raced. They know I'm here. A giant hand reached under the bed, not to grab her, to gently rest on the floor. It's okay, Kane said. We're not here to hurt you. Kalia didn't move. Her mind screamed at her to stay hidden, but her stomach growled again. Louder this time. Kane heard it and smiled faintly. You're hungry, aren't you? Slowly pulled back his hand and stood. Ortiz, leave the tray. Let's give her space. You sure? Ortiz asked. Kane nodded, scared out. Of her mind? Let her come out when she's ready. The two humans left the room. The door hissing shut behind them. Kalia waited. 5 heartbeats. 10. Silence slowly. She crawled out from under the bed, her eyes locked on the tray. There was a bowl of steaming soup, a strange flat bread, and a small container of water. The smell of meat still made her stomach twist. But there was something else. The bread. Cautiously. She picked it up and sniffed. No meat. She nibbled the edge. Her eyes widened. It was soft and warm. Tears filled her eyes as she devoured it in 3 quick bites. Kalia slumped back onto the bed, clutching the water container. Why are they feeding me? She wondered, why aren't they doing what predators do? She thought of the human with the brown eyes, the one who didn't growl, the one who smiled. Maybe the stories weren't all true, but maybe they were. Hours passed. Kalia explored the room, her small hands tracing the smooth metal walls. On one panel, strange markings glowed faintly. She reached out to touch them. The panel lit up, and a calm voice spoke in her language. Welcome, guest. Kalia jumped back. Language protocol. Engaged, the voice said. A soft hum filled the air. Humanity. Apex predators. Carnivorous species. Known for extreme aggression and survival instincts. Exiled from Galactic Council space for violent tendencies. Kalia's blood ran cold. Predators, the voice continued. Warning, prolonged contact with Humans may be dangerous. Kalia stepped back, shaking. I have to get out. I have to escape. The door hissed open again. Kalia spun around. Kane stood in the doorway. He didn't smile this time. You're awake, he said softly. Kalia took a step back. Her silver eyes darted to the corner of the room, searching. For a way out, Kane noticed. You don't trust us, he said. I get it. He crouched, lowering himself to her level. We're not your enemies, little one. We're not the monsters they told you about. Kalia's lips trembled. Then, what are you? She whispered. Kane tilted his head. We're human, he said simply, and we protect those left behind. Kalia stared into the human's eyes, searching for any sign of malice, but all she saw was quiet determination, yet deep down, one fear still burned in her chest. Can predators ever truly protect, or is this just the calm before they strike? Sat in the corner of the metal room, her knees pulled tight to her chest. The strange lights above flickered as the ship rumbled softly beneath her. Somewhere deep inside, powerful engines hummed like distant thunder. She could still hear the calm voice from the glowing panel in her mind. Humans. Apex predators. Exiled for violent tendencies. Kalia's stomach twisted. Why did they save? Me. Predators didn't save prey. The door hissed open. Kalia's ears twitched as heavy boots thudded. Against the floor, Kane entered, carrying another tray of food. Brought you something? Said softly. Kalia didn't answer. She pressed herself deeper into the corner, her silver eyes wary. Kane sighed. You still don't trust us, he murmured. He set the tray down on the table and crouched low, resting one hand on his knee. Back home, they probably told you, we're monsters, he said. Kalia blinked. Monsters. That was the word her people used. Kane's voice grew quieter. They're not wrong, he said. Kalia stiffened. Kane ran a gloved hand over his scarred jaw. Humans were different from. Other species were dangerous. We fight, we hunt. That's who we are. Kalia's heart pounded. Then why did you save me? Outside the room, the deep voices of Kane's crew echoed faintly through the metal walls. Kalia couldn't understand their words, but she caught the tone. Sharp, harsh, predators' voices. She stared at Kane, her small fingers trembling. Why? Not eat me? She whispered. Kane blinked. Then, to Kalia's surprise, he laughed softly. We don't eat children, little one, he said. We don't eat anyone who isn't trying to kill us first. Kalia tilted her head. Lies. She said in her own language. Kane didn't understand the words, but he understood the look in her eyes. They've taught you to fear us, he said. Maybe you should. He stood and stepped toward the door. But we're not your enemy. Kalia watched him leave. The door hissed shut, leaving her alone. With her thoughts, if they're predators, why do they talk to me? Feed me. The glowing panel on the wall hummed to life again. Warning, the AI said in her language. Humanity is classified as a Tier 1 apex species, known for adaptability, aggression, and cunning. Approach with extreme caution. Kalia shivered. Predators. Meanwhile, on the bridge of the Iron Resolve, alarms blared. Serathi fleet detected. The navigator shouted. Kane strode in, his armor plates clinking. How many? 2 light cruisers and 4 escorts, the navigator replied. They're hailing us. Put it through. The screen lit up with the face of a Serathi commander. His silver eyes blazed with contempt. Humans. He spat. You're trespassing in restricted space. Kane folded his arms. Your people left someone behind on that moon, he said. We're bringing her back. She's contaminated, the Serathi commander hissed. That child is no longer Serathi. She's been touched by predators. Kane's jaw tightened. She's a child. She's nothing, the commander snarled. Hand her over now. Kalia sat in her room, hugging her knees. She didn't know why her people were angry. Didn't they want her back? The door hissed open. Again, Kane stepped inside, his face grim. You're one of us now, little one, he said. Kalia blinked. One of them. Kalia's eyes widened as the ship shook violently. Alarms blared. Red lights flashed. From the hallway a voice shouted, Serathi fleet is firing. They're trying to destroy us. Kalia's heart pounded as she stared at Kane. Her people weren't coming to save her. They were coming to erase her. The ship shook violently as alarms wailed. Kalia clutched the edge of her bed, her small claws digging into the fabric. Red lights flashed on the walls, and the strange humming under her feet turned into a loud roar. What's happening? From the hallway, heavy boots thundered past her door. Voices barked strange, guttural orders. She couldn't understand the words, but she understood the tone. Urgent, angry, dangerous. The door hissed open, and Kane burst into the room. His helmet was back on, the glowing red eyes making him look like a demon from her nightmares. But his voice was calm. We're under attack, he said. Kalia stared at him. Wide-eyed Kane stepped closer and knelt down. They're here for you. Kalia's breath caught. My people, they don't want to save you, Kane said. They want to erase you. Kalia shook her head, tears welling in her silver eyes. No, she whispered in her own language. Not true. Kane placed a gloved hand on her shoulder. I wish it wasn't, he said softly. The ship shook again, and a deep rumble vibrated through the floor. On the bridge of the Iron Resolve, the crew worked frantically. Shields at 60%, shouted the navigator. They're trying to disable our engines, another yelled. Kane's voice cut through the chaos. Plot a course out of here. Full burn, aye, sir. The Iron Resolve turned sharply, its engines roaring as it shot away from the Serathi fleet.ca. Leah pressed her face to the small viewport in her room. She saw them sleek silver ships with her people's markings. Streaking across the stars, her heart lifted for a moment. They came for me, but then the lead ship fired. A blast of energy screamed past, shaking the human vessel. Kalia stumbled backward, her small hands pressed over her ears. Kane re-entered the room. He knelt in front of her. They're not here to help you, little one, he said. They're afraid of us. Afraid of what you might have learned just by being near us. Kalia shook her head violently. No, my people. They love me. Kane's voice hardened. Then why did they leave you to die? Kalia froze. The memory came rushing back. The silver ships lifting off. The sound of her mother's voice yelling, We'll come back for you. But they hadn't. Another explosion rocked the ship. Kane grabbed Kalia and pulled her close. You're going to be all right, he said. Kalia stared up at him. Why are they protecting me? Why are the predators acting more like my people then? My own kind, Sergeant? The voice crackled over the coms. They're gaining on us. One cruiser is moving to cut us off. Not if I can help it, Kane growled. He tapped his cum. Ortiz, get to the guns. Make them think twice. Alia felt the ship tilt sharply as Kane stood. He turned to her. Stay here. Lock the door. Don't open it for anyone but me. Kalia grabbed his sleeve. Don't go. Kane placed a hand over hers. I'm coming back, he said. I promised you'd be safe. On the bridge, Kane's voice was calm, but cold. Target their weapons only. Don't kill unless you have to. The crew exchanged uneasy glances, sir. They're trying to destroy us, I know, Kane said. But we're not like them. We don't abandon children. Kalia curled up on her bed, trembling as the ship vibrated under heavy fire. She pressed her hands over her ears, trying to block out the sounds of battle. But one thought burned in her. Mind, my people don't want me back. On the Serathi flagship, Commander Vale sneered at the screen. The humans run like prey, he said. Shall we pursue? His lieutenant asked. Vale's eyes narrowed. Burn them. Leave nothing behind. The Iron Resolve shot through an asteroid field, dodging debris and energy blasts. Shields down to 30%. A crew member shouted. Kane gritted his teeth. Hang on, little one, he muttered. Humans aren't so easy to kill. The Iron Resolve shook violently as a blast tore through its rear shields. Kalia's eyes widened as she felt the ship lurch sideways. For the first time, she wasn't afraid of the humans. She was afraid of her own people. The Iron Resolve shook violently as another blast slammed into its side. Kalia clutched her blanket. her small blue fingers gripping it so tightly her knuckles ached. She was no longer sure. What terrified her more, the Serathi ships firing at them, or the cold, quiet calm of the humans trying to keep her alive. On the bridge, alarms blared, shields at 15%. Ortiz shouted over the din. Evasive pattern Delta, Kane barked, his tone leveled despite the chaos. Don't let them box us in. The ship dove sharply, weaving between asteroids as energy blasts streaked past. We can't outrun them. Forever? The navigator warned. We won't have to, Kane replied. His jaw tightening. Kalia flinched as the room shook again. The door hissed open. And Kane strode in. His armor was scorched, and his helmet dangled from one hand. He crouched in front of her, meeting her wide silver eyes. They're not going to stop, he said softly. Kalia's lips trembled. My people, why are they doing this? She whispered in her own language. Kane didn't understand the words, but he understood the look on her face. They're afraid, he said. Afraid of what we are. Kalia stared at him. You are? Editors? She said haltingly. Her voice breaking. Kane chuckled darkly. Yeah, he admitted. We are, but not the way you've been told. He sat down on the floor across from her, his armor clanking softly. Back home, they probably told you humans are monsters. Hunt, we kill, we destroy. Kalia nodded faintly. It's not all lies, Kane said. We are hunters. We're dangerous when we need to be. That's how we survived. His voice softened. But there's something your people don't understand. Kalia tilted her head. Kane's eyes hardened. Predators don't waste prey. We don't take more than we need. And we never leave our own behind. He looked straight at her. That's our code. The Apex Code. Kalia blinked. Code. She echoed. It means, Kane said, that we protect the weak. The ones everyone else abandons. He reached into a pouch and pulled out a small, worn emblem patch with a wolf howling at a crescent moon. This was my brother's, Kane said. He died saving a village on a world that wasn't even human. Kalia's fingers brushed the patch hesitantly. Kane's voice was quiet now. Humans aren't perfect. But when we fight, it's not for conquest. It's to protect. Yeah, that's why they're afraid of us. The ship jolted again, and a deep rumble shook the floor. Ortiz's voice crackled over the coms. Sergeant, they're deploying boarding craft. They're trying to take us alive. Kane stood, his expression hardening. Lock down the corridors, prepared to repel. He looked down at Kalia. Stay here. No matter what you hear, don't open the door. Kalia reached for his sleeve. Don't go, she whispered. Kane placed his hand gently over hers. I have two, he said. But I'll be back, I promise. And then he was gone. Kalia sat in silence as muffled explosions echoed through the ship. She pressed her hands. Over her ears, her chest tight. Her people wanted her dead. The humans' predators were fighting to keep her alive. Why? In the corridors of the Iron Resolve, the air was thick with smoke and the sound of gunfire. The Serathi boarding parties advanced cautiously, their sleek armor glinting in the dim light. But the humans were waiting. Kane moved like a shadow, his rifle barking with deadly precision, one by one. The Serathi soldiers fell not killed, but stunned with pulse rounds. Non-lethal only. Kane shouted. We're not murderers. Not today. Kalia huddled in her room, tears streaming down her cheeks. She didn't know who to believe anymore. Her people had abandoned her. The humans had risked everything for her. Which ones were? The real monsters? The ship shook one last time, then fell still. Kane returned hours later, his armor scorched and battered. He knelt in front of Kalia, pulling off his helmet. It's over, he said softly. Kalia stared at him, her voice barely a whisper. Why? Why protect me? Kane's gaze softened. Because no one else would, he said. And that's what humans do. Kalia stared at Kane for a long moment, and for the first time, she whispered the words that would change the galaxy forever. Maybe you're not monsters. The corridors of the Iron Resolve were quiet now. The red lights had dimmed. The ship drifted in the shadow of a shattered asteroid, hiding from the Serathi fleet still hunting for them. Kalia stood at the viewport in her room, staring out at the field of jagged rocks and stars. Beyond, her people were out there, but they weren't coming to save her. They were coming to finish what they started. The door hissed. Open behind her. Kalia flinched, but it was Kane. His armor was gone now, replaced by a simple black uniform. He looked tired, dark circles under his eyes, stubble on his jawline. "You should get some rest," he said softly. Kalia didn't answer. "They won't find us here," Kane continued. "At least not for a while." Kalia turned to face him, her small hands clenched at her sides. "Why?" she asked quietly, in her own language. Kane tilted his head. "Why? Save me." She whispered again, trying to form the words in the human's tongue. Kane knelt down so they were eye level, because no one else would, she said simply. In the hallway outside, Private Rourke leaned against the wall, his arms crossed. "She's just a kid," Ortiz said. "She's a liability," Rourke replied coldly. Ortiz frowned. Kane said, "I don't care what Kane said," Rourke snapped. "We've got a whole fleet chasing us because of her." Ortiz hesitated. "She's innocent," he said finally. "No such thing," Rourke muttered as he walked away. Kalia curled up on her bed later, clutching the blanket Kane had given her. She couldn't sleep. Her mind kept replaying the voices of her people from the glowing panel in her room. Humans are monsters. They destroy everything they touch. But the monsters hadn't killed her. Her people had tried. The ship's engines hummed softly beneath her feet. Leah closed her eyes and didn't see Rourke standing outside her door. Hours later, Kane sat in the mess hall, staring into a mug of dark liquid. He didn't hear Rourke approach. "Sergeant," Rourke said flatly. Kane looked up. "We need to talk about the kid," Rourke said. Kane's eyes narrowed. "She's not a threat." "She's the threat," Rourke hissed. "The Serathi won't stop. They'll hunt us to the ends of the galaxy because of her." Kane slammed his mug down. "She's staying." Rourke's jaw tightened. "Then you're putting all of us at risk," he said. "And for what? Some alien kid who probably hates us anyway." Kane stood, his voice like steel. "She's one of us now. End of discussion." But for Rourke, it wasn't the end. Kalia woke to the sound of her door hissing open. She sat up, her ears twitching. It wasn't Kane. A tall human in dark armor stepped into the room. His helmet was off, and his cold gray eyes locked onto her. "You don't belong here," Rourke said softly. Kalia froze. Rourke crouched low, his voice dropping to a whisper. "You're going to get us all killed. Do you understand that?" Kalia shook her head, not understanding the words but terrified by his tone. Rourke's hand drifted to the sidearm on his belt. "I'm sorry, kid," he muttered, "but this is for the greater good." Kalia's eyes went wide. She scrambled backward, slamming into the wall. "Stay. Away!" she cried in her own language. The door hissed open again. "Rourke." Kane's voice thundered. Rourke froze as Kane strode into the room, his rifle raised. "What the hell are you doing?" Kane growled. "She's a threat, Sergeant." Rourke snapped. "You know it. She's a child," Kane said coldly. "And if you touch her again, I'll put you down myself." Kalia stared at Kane, her tiny chest heaving. "He came back for me." Again, Rourke backed out of the room, his expression twisted with anger. "This is a mistake," spat. Kane didn't lower his rifle until the door closed. Then he turned to Kalia. "You're safe," he said softly. Kalia launched herself into his arms. For the first time. She didn't hesitate. As Kane held her close, he whispered under his breath, "They're all afraid of you, little one, even my own men." And Kalia, her face buried in his shoulder, whispered back in broken human words, I trust you." But outside the room, Rourke's voice crackled over a private comms channel. "They'll never see it coming. Activate the beacon." Asterisk, the iron resolve glided silently through the asteroid field, its hull scorched and battered inside. Kane stood in the dimly lit hallway, staring at the closed door to Kalia's room. She was sleeping now, or at least trying to. After what happened with Rourke, Kane had posted a guard outside her door. But even with the guard, he couldn't shake the uneasy feeling gnawing at his gut. in the shadows of the engineering bay. Rourke crouched over a small device in his hand. A beacon. He flicked the switch. A faint blue light blinked to life. "They're coming," he whispered into his private com. From the other end, a cold hissing voice replied, "Good, keep the child alive until we arrive. Do not engage the apex beasts unless necessary." Rourke clenched his jaw. Beasts. That's what the Serathi called his people. But deep down, he wondered if they were right. Kalia stirred in her bed. She dreamed of home, of running through the silver fields on her world. Her parents laughing. Behind her, then the dream shifted. The laughter turned to screaming. Flames, smoke, predators with glowing red eyes. She bolted upright. Her tiny chest heaving, the door hissed open. Kalia flinched until she saw Kane's tired face. "You're safe," he said softly. Kalia's hands shook. "I dream bad," she whispered in broken human words. Kane knelt beside her bed. "I know, little one, I know." But Kane didn't know about the beacon pulsing quietly deep in the ship. Didn't know that a Serathi strike force had already broken off from the main fleet. Didn't know they were coming. In the mess hall, Ortiz slammed his tray down, glaring at Rourke. "You went into her room. You could have killed her." Rourke didn't meet his eyes. "She's not one of us," he said coldly. "She's more one of us than you are right now," Ortiz snapped. Rourke's hand twitched near his sidearm, but he didn't draw. Not yet. Kalia sat cross-legged on her bed, staring at a small device Kane had left her. It played soft music, strange, haunting melodies she'd never heard before. Her fingers traced the glowing buttons. Humans make music? Her people had told her humans made only war, but the music was gentle, sad. It didn't sound like a predator at all. Kane stood outside her door, commas folded. Ortiz approached quietly. "Sergeant," he said, "we've got a faint signal. Can't pinpoint it yet, but it's not one of ours." Kane's eyes narrowed. "A tracking beacon?" Ortiz nodded. "Has to be." Kane's voice dropped to a growl. "Find it now." In the engineering bay, the beacon pulsed. Blink, 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 far out in the void. A Serathi strike cruiser picked up the signal. "Lock on," the commander hissed. "Prepare boarding parties. No weapons fire if they're apex predators. We can't risk angering them." Kane stormed into engineering with Ortiz and 2 other soldiers. "Lock down this bay," he ordered. They swept the room, scanning every corner, and then they found it. A small, sleek beacon Serathi tech. Kane's eyes burned. "Who put this here?" he demanded. Ortiz picked it up carefully. "It was activated recently." "Someone betrayed us." Kane's fists clenched. Rourke Talia sat up as Kane entered her room. She saw the storm in his eyes. "Danger?" she asked softly. Kane knelt in front. "Of her? Yes," he admitted, "but not from us." Kalia tilted her head. "You, no danger," she said, in broken words. Kane's expression softened for just a moment. "Not to you," he said. "Never to you." In the cargo bay, Rourke stood with his rifle, pacing. He tapped his cum again. "Where's my extraction?" "They're close," the Serathi voice replied. Rourke's jaw tightened. "I held up my end. I didn't hurt the girl." "Good," the voice hissed. "Because if you had, we would be coming for you." Ortiz and Kane burst into the cargo bay. "Drop it, Rourke," Kane roared. Rourke spun, his rifle rising. "She's not worth this, Kane," he shouted. "You don't get to decide that," Kane growled. "She's an alien, a Serathi. Will never stop hunting us if we keep her aboard." "Then let them come," Kane said coldly. "Let them learn why humanity was exiled." Rourke's finger tightened on the trigger, but before he could fire, Ortiz slammed into him from the side. The rifle clattered to the floor. Kane grabbed Rourke by the collar and slammed him against the wall. "You betrayed your own kind, Kane," said his voice low and dangerous. Rourke spat at him. "You're protecting a monster." "No," Kane said softly. "I'm protecting a child." A warning alarm blared throughout the ship. Ortiz looked up at the ceiling. "They're here," he said grimly. Kane dropped Rourke to the floor and turned to the intercom. "All hands battle stations. This is not a drill." In her room, Kalia clutched the music device to her chest as the ship's lights turned blood red. For the first time. She wasn't afraid of the humans. She was afraid of what they might do to save her. The Iron Resolve shuddered as the first Serathi boarding pod slammed into its hull. Klaxons wailed. Red lights flashed in every corridor. Kalia clutched her music device tightly, her small frame trembling. Through the walls, she could hear boots. Pounding, voices, shouting, weapons discharging in sharp bursts. She curled up in her bed, pressing her hands over her ears. But she couldn't block out the sound of predators preparing to fight. On the bridge, Kane's face was carved from stone. "They want her alive," he said coldly. "That's their weakness." Ortiz nodded. "And our strength?" Kane's eyes hardened. "That we're human." In the dim corridors of the Iron Resolve, the first wave of Serathi troops advanced cautiously. They had been warned about humanity, warned about the apex predators. But what they saw wasn't what they expected. Private Chen crouched in the shadows, his rifle steady. A Serathi soldier rounded the corner, sleek silver armor gleaming. In one motion, Chen fired. A pulse round slammed into the soldier's chest, knocking him out. Cold two more Serathi raised their weapons to slow. From above, Corporal Reyes dropped down, her blade flashing, non-lethal strikes, quick, precise. The Serathi never stood a chance. Kalia felt the ship lurch again. The door to her room hissed open. Kane stood there, his armor black and scarred, his rifle slung across his chest. "Time to move, little one," he said. Kalia shook her head violently. "No, they want me, I go. They stop." Kane knelt, his eyes locking with hers. "They won't stop, Kalia," he said softly. "Not until you're dead. Or worse." The ship shook again as another boarding pod slammed into its hull. "They're coming," Ortiz's voice crackled. "Over Kane's come. We hold them here," Kane replied. "Buy time for the little one." In the cargo bay, Rourke struggled against the cuffs, binding his hands. "You're all dead," he spat at Ortiz. "You're protecting a monster." "The Serathi tear this ship apart. Don't say I didn't warn you." Ortiz glanced at him coldly. "Funny, that's what they said about us." Kane led Kalia through the narrow corridors, his steps silent despite the weight of his armor. Behind them, muffled shouts echoed as human soldiers clashed with Serathi boarders. Kalia stumbled. Kane caught her. "I've got you," he said her. Silver eyes met his. "Why help?" she whispered. Kane's voice was quiet, but deadly serious. "Because we're human. And humans don't leave anyone behind." In the engineering bay, the last line of human defenders prepared for the inevitable. "Here they come," Chen muttered. Gripping his rifle, the door exploded inward. Serathi troops poured through, and then the humans moved. Fast, precise. Predators. Unleashed, Kalia's people had told her stories of human savagery. But what she saw on the monitors as Kane led her past the bridge wasn't savagery. It was something else. Discipline, precision. Every human fought not to kill, but to protect me, Kalia realized. On the Serathi flagship, Commander Vale watched the battle unfold on his screens. "They fight like beasts," his lieutenant said nervously. Vale's eyes narrowed. "No," he hissed. "They fight like predators, protecting their den." In the maintenance shaft, Kane pushed Kalia forward. "Crawl," he ordered. Kalia hesitated. "What? You?" she whispered. "I'll hold them off," Kane said. Kalia shook her head, tears streaming down her cheeks. "No, you come." Kane smiled faintly. "You've got the heart of a human, little one." He tapped his cum. "Ortiz, Plan Apex. Are you sure, Sergeant?" Ortiz asked. "Do it." In the cargo bay, Ortiz slammed a fist on the console. A low hum filled the ship as hidden panels opened. Emergency. Predator protocols. The Iron Resolve had teeth, turrets, unfolded from the ceilings. Defense drones whirred to life, and in the corridors. The human soldiers stopped holding back, suppressing fire. Reyes shouted. Pulse rounds filled the air. Forcing the Serathi into retreat, Kalia crawled through the maintenance shaft, sobbing softly. She looked back and saw Kane standing at the entrance, rifle raised. "Go," he said, and then the shaft. Door slammed shut. Kalia stumbled into an escape pod bay, the hum of engines vibrating through the floor. The monitor on the wall flickered to life. Kane's face appeared, bloodied but unbowed. "Little one," he said, his voice calm, even as explosions shook the ship behind him. "Never forget, this humans don't abandon their own. And from now on, you are one of us." Then the screen went dark as Kalia's pod launched into the void. Behind her, Iron Resolve turned to face the full Serathi fleet. Predators unleashed. Asterisk, the escape pod streaked across the stars, leaving. The Iron Resolve behind Kalia huddled in the corner, her silver eyes fixed on the viewport. Behind her, the human ship spun to face the massive Serathi fleet. She could still hear Kane's final words in her head. "Never forget this, humans. Don't abandon their own. And from now on, you are one of us." On the Serathi flagship, Commander Vale watched the scene unfold. "The human vessel is preparing for a suicide run," his lieutenant said nervously. Vale sneered. "Fools. Even apex predators know when they're outnumbered." "Well, shall we destroy them?" the lieutenant asked. Vale hesitated. Something deep in his instincts screamed no. On the Iron Resolve, Kane stood on the bridge, battered and bloodied. "Ortiz, are the escape pods away?" "It's all clear," Sergeant Ortiz replied. Kane's eyes hardened. "Good. Let's make this count." He tapped the console, bringing up the ship-wide comms. "All hands. You know what's at stake? They think we're animals. Let's show them what happens when animals fight for their pack." The crew roared in unison. Kalia watched as dozens of Serathi ships circled the lone human vessel. Then the Iron Resolve moved fast. Too fast for a ship of its size, like a predator striking prey. On board the Serathi cruiser, closest to the human vessel, alarms blared. The human ship is on an intercept course. Evasive maneuvers. Too late, the Iron Resolve slammed into their shields, ripping the cruiser's engines apart. In the escape pod, Kalia gasped. Why fight? Why not run? But then she remembered Kane's words. Predators don't leave their own behind. One by one, the human ship tore through the Serathi blockade. Every move was precise, calculated. This wasn't rage. It wasn't madness. This was humanity.ca. Laya sobbed into her hands as her pod's sensors picked up dozens of Serathi transmissions. Retreat. Retreat. They're targeting our command ships. This isn't war, it's slaughter. Monsters. The Carnivores are loose. On the Iron Resolve, Kane stood at the center of the chaos. Ortiz status. Main engines critical. Hull. Integrity down to 9%. Can we take their flagship with us? Kane asked. Ortiz grinned grimly. Yes, sir, then do it. Kalia pressed her face to the viewport as the Iron Resolve turned sharply, heading straight for the massive Serathi flagship. No, she whispered. Don't. On the Serathi bridge, Commander Vale screamed, Stop them. But the Iron Resolve didn't stop. It slammed into the flagship's command tower in a brilliant flash of light. Kalia's scream was swallowed by the soundless vacuum of space. The escape pod AI spoke calmly. Human vessel destroyed. Serathi. Fleet dispersing. Kalia shook her head violently. No, no, no. But then, a voice crackled faintly through the comms. Little one, Kalia gasped. Kane. You survived, the voice said, faint but steady. You're one of us now. Don't let them forget it. Far behind her, among the wreckage of the Iron Resolve, a single human escape pod drifted into the void. Kane sat inside, his armor scorched, but his eyes blazing. Months later, the galaxy whispered a new legend. The Carnivores, the humans, the monsters who fought not for power, not for conquest, but for the smallest, weakest life the galaxy had abandoned. And everyone wondered, what happens when the apex predators stop hiding? Kalia stood on a grassy hill on a distant human colony world, staring at the stars. She held the small music, device Kane had given her, its soft melody playing into the night. "I won't forget," she whispered. "I'm human now." As Kalia walked back toward the human settlement, a faint rumble shook the air. She turned to see a sleek black ship. Rising over the horizon, its insignia, a wolf howling at a crescent moon, the iron resolve reborn, and at its helm, a Kane.